Hello world, Naji Coach still here. Alright, continuing on. Something that is often discussed in relation to me is my ego. And generally the perception is that it is too large, without sufficient restraint, and would do well to engage in a significant dose of humility. While I acknowledge that there are many areas that can pertain to ego, and some of them I surely need to work on, these calls for me to curb myself in this manner are for the larger part without sufficient merit to warrant conceding to them. In this vlog I will go over some of the key areas where this disagreement regarding the proper state of my ego come into play. One that comes up frequently is the disregard I have for the opinions people have on the mojo phenomenon who have such low-powered lenses to bring to bear in observing it. There is a proper dismissiveness that comes when a person who is under-equipped for a given conversation wants to speak with greater insight than they actually have, and downplay the superiority of insight of those with greater ability than their own. The tacit nature of the skill set and talent levels involved does not mitigate a need for a hierarchy of ability for taking lead. There are many things that stem from superiority in lens capability. This includes giving appropriate priority to the discovery being discussed, and as a part of that, the valuation it deserves as a discovery and as a gift of understanding to humanity. It takes an ego to actually have that proper sense and to hold it in the presence of a vast multitude of other humans, modern humans, who do not have this proper understanding of its reality and thus its priority and valuation. This superiority of scrutinizing the obvious of the human condition comes from my connection to my higher spirits, who have demonstrated a superior degree of insight to myself as I have demonstrated a superior degree of insight to my fellow humans, at least when it comes to the fundamentals of human qualia. These spirits, which are wiser than all of us, tell me constantly that my ego is too small, that I look for reasons for my ego to shrink in order to relieve myself of my responsibility to share what I can with the world, for the betterment of our future people. People who can't see the mojo phenomenon very well consistently want to downplay its epic implications as it eases their minds to do so. This is an error that must be resisted, and to do so requires proper ego. In this case, large enough to know what you see when you see it, regardless of how few other people can. The truth is not a consensus, but it takes a healthy ego to assert that and to hold your ground. Although we all have our demons to work through, I certainly have mine. Mine have been dealt with to a greater degree so that I am able to see the truth of our story with more clarity. It is not a good idea to take advice on correcting the state of your ego from people who suffer from a multitude of obvious and lower level possession of their faculties. That is my assessment of all of you. There is an ego needed to feel the right to righteous indignation when it is time for it. Right now, there needs to be a tremendous amount of righteous indignation towards modern humans who can't see the mojo phenomenon yet, but want to have a say in whether it is real or not, whether it is important or not, who should or should not be involved in its exploration and dissemination, and in what capacities. This is an insult to the truth of the situation and anyone who can see it. A specific objection is when I refer to the mojo phenomenon discovery and its implications as the greatest discovery in the history of humans. This objection is out of line for numerous reasons. First is the fact that if you can see the phenomenon for yourself adequately, then its implications become obvious. You've all not scrutinized the obviousness of our situation as humans well enough yet. This is going to cause the greatest breakthrough in human consciousness, but not before going through unprecedented upheaval, including being compared to many other ideologies, both scientific and spiritual. Then there's a question of, even if it is the greatest discovery, do you have to say it? Yes, you do. Because of intellectual integrity for one thing, but also so that other people know how to properly digest what is going on. People unknowingly put up all kinds of mental blocks to resist accepting the implications of what they are seeing, to the point that they won't see what they could if they weren't blocked, by clinging to the illusion that they are doing anything less than staring directly at the programming of the human condition in action. Proper ego does not cause wrong action. It makes right action possible. It takes an ego that others in their limited states find uncomfortable to be exposed to. in order to know how to conduct myself, and so others in the future know how to conduct themselves, which will take an ego sufficient to resist the pushback of those who are late to the party of realizing what has been happening, is happening, and will continue to happen to humanity, based on the pervasive influence of the Mojo phenomenon. Another thing is that I am being told to check my ego on my contributions to a subject that, by even the words of my critics, places me at the level of at least maybe a genius. This is coming from people who have never said or done anything to put them in the running to be even maybe considered for being a genius in any field, much less the subject of observing the innate human qualia, my specialty. People are chafed by how I refer to myself as a mega-genius. I will be seen in the future as a prophet. I know that word may freak people out, it freaks me out, but it is what it is. And people will compare me to those of other ideologies. It is important to be clear that the feats I have performed in raising humanity's understanding of itself are unmatched in science, spirituality, or art, which is the truth of the matter. It simply is what it is. In a world where prophets are said to be a perfect person or personally blessed by the sun or any other made-up titles, the first prophet of Podlair will have the highest bona fide credential there is, a mega-genius in solving the case of the human condition and the meaning of existence. People will ask in the future, if he was so ahead of his time, how come he didn't know? Or if he did know, why didn't he say? Well, I am aware, and thus I'm saying so. All right. That's basically it. I guess I'm going to touch on two little things here off the cuff. I guess related to this is me being domineering. It takes a certain level of dominance in order to get a job done properly, and those who are not doing things as they need to at a high enough level, they will have to be pushed or pushed out of the way. I do not shrink from that degree of dominance. It is appropriate, and there is an ego needed to do so. So excessive ego and domineering are, I think, being conflated with proper ego and proper dominance. I just have a lot of both in this given situation because that is appropriate given the skill sets and talent levels and levels of commitment involved in the people discussing this, me compared to the rest of you. The other one is that a general theme of I was even more audacious when I first came out, and that people are looking forward to, since I have become less audacious over the years, that hopefully that trend will continue. Well, you're going to be disappointed in that regard. My audacity is going to be even higher than ever because I am stronger than ever at tracking this phenomenon, which is the greatest discovery ever. So I'm more sure of its greatness, and I'm more sure that I know what I'm doing, and I am more sure, therefore, from listening to you all, that you don't know what you're doing. So my ego is going to go even higher. And I was stooping a bit with my ego because your ability levels, your talent levels, what you could do to see the Mojo phenomenon was linked with my performance. But now it is not. And I'm glad to do that. And moving on my own, I have only my own abilities, and that with Shailene, you know, Sherlock and Watson of the human condition here, to go off. And with that being the case, I'm feeling more audacious than ever, and I'm feeling lighter, better, stronger, more capable of doing my job. Sadness is definitely a theme here. Some anger, but mainly sadness, actually. Sadness and disappointment. But once those things are let go of, are healed through, I'm going to be stronger than ever, and I will no longer need to curb myself in order that I don't offend the fragile egos of other people, and I don't need to take into account how well am I doing based on how well any other humans are doing. I can just go with what I can do and my ability to solve this riddle, and how important is the riddle. Most important, I'm the best at doing it, I'm getting better all the time, I'm going to close this. So I'm feeling quite audacious.